Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Liam McCrane Jr., aka Zorvalchan Less Than Guru, and today I want to specifically talk about a couple of skills for magic user classes. We'll start with the wizard. So the wizard gets a scroll conversion skill, something in Palladium that I really liked and was one of those first things that connected with me, is that wizards don't forget spells. In Palladium First Edition, they have a limited number of spells they can cast per day, but they are not limited by spell slots or memorized spells. So there's not like level 1 spell slots and 2. It's just a flat 2 through 23, depending on what level you are. And that determines how many per day. But you don't have to memorize spells. Palladium's thoughts on that is a wizard is not going to forget how to cast a spell the same way a soldier is not going to forget how to swing the sword. And that's something that resonated with me. But I did do a lot of conversions from D&D adventures into Palladium. And another thing is wizards do not gain spells as they level in first edition. In second edition, they are able to learn a spell, but it's like D&D where you go out, you find spells, and you learn spells, but in Palladium it is through scroll conversions. And scrolls are a cast, and the scroll is like used up. So in that small time of casting spells, you have a percentage that you could learn a spell while casting it. So that's where the scroll conversion number down here. Again, it has that very low percentage. So your first level, your second level wizards aren't going to be able to do a lot of scroll conversions. So I kind of agree with that. In the scroll, you're casting it. It's usually an action or a round to do things. And then you don't have a lot of time to figure that out. But I also like the idea of spell books and grimoires and ancient tomes that have magic in it. So what I've done is I've put spell books into my Palladium games. And it's not that you need to know, but you practice. And just as that soldier is practicing with that sword, that wizard is going to be studying their spells to remember the proper incantations, the proper forms of, finger movements, and etc. Basically, kind of like if you don't do algebra in a long time, you might get rusty and might have to remind yourself. With me, with rules, if I don't read the book, every once in a while, I'll forget those rules, or they'll go back until I remind myself on them. So what I've done is I still have the scroll conversion. I still have that low 8%. So my percentages per level go up the exact same, but I allow grimoires to work as those modifiers that I talked about in the previous episode. So for having a grimoire, having a spell book, and studying it, that's going to be considered a minor positive, a 10% bonus to your roll, or it's a negative to your roll, or 10% to your skill. And I put a requirement of you need at least 15 minutes per spell level. What that does is it means that you don't just roll and, I learned it, I learned 5 spells. You have to also spend time. So 15 minutes per spell level. So a simple first level spell, you're going to get a chance to roll for a level 1 spell. 10% because it's a spell book. The 8% base, so only an 18%. But if you're not in a stressful situation, again, you use that 10% bonus, and that would raise it to a 28%. And then if you take time, if you take an hour and 15 minutes, 5 times that 15 minutes, then that's going to add another 20%. And that allows those low-level characters to gain those spells. And that's one of the things that is the core of the wizard. Why you would want to be a wizard is because you might not gain that spell every level like the priests do and the shamans do and other magic character classes do, but you have the potential of gaining lots more spells. There's no limit to how many you know. So that's a way that I was able to take those old D&D adventures or even new D&D adventures that you find a wizard, you defeat a wizard, or you find some spell book out there and incorporate that into my Palladium games. I kind of do the same thing if we look at the summoner and the diabolists who do boards, and they have percentage of learning. Both of them have percentage learning circles, as I do the same thing. If you find a circle and you spend your time learning that, you will be able to increase your chances of learning that circle type. I've mentioned this in the past. I have actually taken the Diabolist and Summoner and have combined those classes into what I call the Symbologist, because, again, I am kind of against redundancy, and the Diabolist would learn all runes, all symbols, all alarms, conditions, they call them symbols, and letters, and all of that stuff. Plus, they could learn how to do circles. The summoner could only learn circles and could not learn the other things. And when you look at the percentages here, when you deduce the function and decipher the invocation for the Diabolist, and you compare that to the summoner at the end just has like an extra percent point, not very different. So I kind of combined those two. You don't have to combine them, but one thing I would do is for the deduce function and the decipher invocation, I would use those times. If you want to have it an hour, be an hour per type of, whether it's a protection or a summoning or a circle of power. You can increase the time needed to deduce that function and to decipher that invocation. But I would do the non-stressful thing. I would do the other, so that these base percentages of 18 and 8, you can give your first level, your second level characters a little bit chance that if they have the time and to study and the resources to study, maybe there is a spell book or some written code that they can crack that the original person who made it has, that they can get those bonuses just like I talked with before. So basically, I want to say use that modifiers that I gave in the previous episode. You can use that for learning spells, learning circles, and other type activities. You don't just have to do it for those general elective and secondary skills. So having said that, once again, I am Lee McCraft Jr., aka Zorwald Shaman, and until next time, I will catch you later.